Welcome to Sex Help for Smart People. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Jurgens, former science professor turned somatic sexologist and intimacy coach. This podcast is all about using evidence-based practices to help high-achieving women and their partners of all genders get the affection, connection, and great sex you want. So let's get at it. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to episode 6. Today we are talking about finding and building on your own sensual superpowers. Grounding yourself in your strengths is what I see as really making growth possible. So that's what I want to help you do today. We are going to start with why this will help you no matter where you are in your own erotic journey. A couple random stories about me, and I'll go through 16 different varieties of sensual or sexual superpowers and give you an exercise to help you find yours. All right, so we're going to get started. And we're going to start today, as per usual, with a little foray into why this matters. So why you might want to A, get to know / identify, and B, lean into your sensual and sexual strengths. And I'm guessing you've had an experience at some point in your life where you've had a goal. We set goals when we have visions for our future selves, right? Where we want to be, what we want to experience in this life. And I just love that so much. I think it's so fantastic to have a vision for yourself. It's really a loving and beautiful thing, right? This is what I want to give to myself in the future. I want to have this experience. And imagining new ways of being and experiencing for ourselves is really just a wonderful gift to ourselves in our lives. But sometimes we don't actually implement it as a gift. We sometimes implement it as, like, once we've decided the goal, as if it's this sort of heavy burdenness that we should be different or we should accomplish this thing, right? And so what I want to do today is help you, if you do have a vision for yourself, to stay in the beauty and the lovingness of it. So I'm going to give you some tools for that. And I also want to say too that sometimes we're just not ready to work towards that vision, right? We're just starting to have an inkling of what is possible for us. And that's okay. I mean, big kudos to you if you allow yourself to even start having an inkling of what might be possible to you. I think that's really brave. And you do not have to have a specific vision or a specific goal. But if you're here, you might be considering having a vision for yourself in terms of relationships or sensuality or sexuality, a goal around connecting better with yourself as an embodied erotic being, with what you want, with skills around relationships and eroticism, or connecting better with one or more of your partners or your future partners, and sort of better figuring out what you want in potential future partners. So I think that a lot of us here have that in common. And I'm going to go back for a moment to this idea of just having goals and visions in general. So, it can be really tempting and easy to focus on what is missing. Once we identify the goal, we can start focusing on what is lacking between where we are now and where we want to be. Now, look, that is 100% okay to just start with and to calibrate our direction, right? Where are we going? But when we start through normal human, this is really normal. You are not an exception if you do this. And I certainly do it. And it is sort of the default for the human brain. But when we start fixating on the lack, what we don't have, we start subtly undermining our capacity to move towards our vision. Because we just start seeing only that lack, and we start using the distance between where we are now and the vision we have for ourselves in the future as evidence that we'll never get there. It's almost like we've set our sights on a distant mountain, and as we start walking, we just keep looking at all the space in front of us as if it's proof that we're never going to reach the mountain because we're not there yet, right? We kind of know instinctively not to do that when we're actually trying to get to a physical destination, but it does tend to be sort of the brain's default when we're trying to get to a more theoretical or internal destination. So the key thing is we need to measure backwards. We need to see where we started and honor that place and celebrate the living fuck out of every step forward, right? That's what gives us a motivation to continue. And I think maybe that's also why it's easier in sort of the physical realm when we see that distant mountain. We can look back, and we often do look back behind us, right? We're looking around us, we're seeing new scenery, right? But sometimes when we're moving towards a goal, we don't necessarily look around us and see the scenery. We don't notice that we're in a different place. We don't notice that we're making progress. We just start fixating on how far away we are from where we want to be. So an illustration of this is like the tale of two Lauras that I'm going to give you. One is the version of me who tried to play in a quote unquote friendly adult softball league during grad school. And this was definitely out of my comfort zone. I had a lot of discomfort around organized group sports from being not the great sports kid in school. And I was totally new to softball. I was just trying to really have fun, socialize. Everybody kind of said, oh yeah, we need another player. And it's no big deal. If you've never played softball before, it's totally fine. But I do have a tendency to jump in and try to do my best with everything. So I wasn't actually recognizing that as one of my strengths. So I started to compare myself to the other players. I started to see where I lacked, right? This was definitely not helped out by some bro-y guy on the team dropping, a not nice comment to me when I struck out once. But it was ultimately on me for taking that to heart, right? I could have dismissed it as oh, well, that was douchey, right? And it was. And I kind of did, but I also took it to heart. And I never really took the time to look at my progress or my strengths. Even though I was going to the batting cages, I was pretty good with aim and throwing. All I could see was that I wasn't a fast runner. I hadn't gotten the knack of really making good hand-eye coordination all the time, right? I had places that I needed to work on. But because I wasn't honoring any of my strengths, I lost motivation completely, and I just completely stopped. I didn't even finish the season. So I want to contrast that with this other version of me who just last year took up Olympic weightlifting as a new sport. So Olympic style weightlifting, there's two lifts. You may know this and you may not, but one is called the snatch. Great name, right? And the other is the clean and jerk. So there's these two lifts where you're basically just trying to get a barbell with a bunch of weight on it over your head. And I was a total blank slate. But I let it be fun. I celebrated every single win along the way this past year. And I really celebrated what I was good at. I'm good at mirroring movements. I have a lot of mobility. I have a lot of willingness to try. Don't tend to be super scared of stuff in the gym. So I'm still doing this and I'm loving it and I'm having loads of fun and I keep getting better. And I'm no Maddie Rogers, who's an Olympic weightlifter, but I'm really kicking ass compared to the me who started in July. And I'm tracking my weight so that I can see every time I put new, heavier weight over my head. And I also can, celebrate every time I hit a lift just right. And I'm not comparing myself any more than sort of my brain defaults. And I do it a little bit and I catch it, right? But I'm not comparing myself a lot to the person next to me, except to sometimes notice that even when that person is lifting more than me, I'm often having more fun. And I give myself credit for that and let myself feel pride in it. And the same thing happened with me in all the sort of spiral turnings and learning in growing my relationship to my own sexuality. When I only saw my incapacity to know what I wanted or to get what I wanted, I felt really defeated. But when I started seeing and valuing what I was actually good at, it put the things I wanted to work on in a much more attainable light. So I saw that I didn't suck at everything, right? I had figured out in my 20s how to orgasm with myself. Yay. So I could build on that. I didn't really know my erogenous zones at all, and I thought I might not have them, but I knew I was good at being able to tell what kind of touch I liked and didn't like. So I could build on that. And I was really good at fantasy and imagination. So it seemed maybe less impossible to work on the things I wanted to work on, like getting better, getting actual words out of my face hole to ask somebody what I wanted, or say something like, oh my gosh, maybe a little dirty, right? That seemed really impossible. That seemed like a distant mountain at the beginning. But because I was giving myself credit for the things I was already good at, it did seem more attainable. And it also didn't seem like the end all be all, right? I could build on my strengths and value them even as I moved forward. So all this to say, these stories are just to say, if you have or are starting to have some desires for future you, a vision of what your embodied erotic freedom could look like, a vision of how you might enjoy feeling entitled to feel sexy in your body, entitled to your desires, whatever they are. Even if that desire is never ever having sex again, that is absolutely okay, right? Entitled to living into whatever love life you choose. So if you are starting to have some of those visions for yourself, I want to really take a moment to celebrate that with you. I want to give you all my congratulations, because your vision is by far the first and most important step to getting anything, is having a vision for it, right? Letting yourself actually want something for yourself. And that is powerful empowerment right there. Letting yourself actually want something for yourself. So beyond my kudos for that, I want to also offer this episode as a really grounding place to start by identifying and celebrating your strengths. Letting your strengths be your home base and actually letting yourself take pride in them. And I firmly believe that is what will keep you from being in that sort of lack and sense of feeling defeated, oftentimes before we even start, right? I think many of us have had that experience of feeling like we quit before we even start something. We're just not willing to try. And sometimes that's also because we haven't celebrated our capacity and our strengths. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go through some common categories of superpowers. And your exercise at the end will be about helping you tune into yours. So trust me, you definitely want to do this exercise. And you may need to come back to this. I'm going to list 16 superpower categories. So you may need to come back and take notes if like you're out driving or something, or you might want to look at the transcript or whatever helps you here. Listen again, however works for you. We're going to go through 16 superpower categories. So just as you listen, reflect on, is there anything here that I might be good at? And look, if there's not, just know that nobody has all the superpowers, right? There is no superhero out there that has all the superpowers. They just use the ones they have really, really well. Okay? So we're just going to inquire which are yours, but you don't have to have all of them. Okay, so number 1, knowing your erogenous zones. This could be any place on your body. The neck, your back, your knees, your thighs, your inner elbow, your ears, your butt crack, your feet, anything, your lips. Do you know your erogenous zones? If you do, that is awesome. Not everybody does. And I really didn't for a long, long time. I'm talking like decades of my life. I did not know. Okay. Number 2, communication. Are you good at saying what you would like to do or have done to you? Again, not everybody is. If you're good at this, that is awesome. It took me a long time to get better at this, and some of us never really get the verbal part of this down when we're turned on especially, but we can learn to communicate clearly in other ways, and I help people with that all the time. But if actually saying what you would like or what you would like to do is something you're already good at, please acknowledge that as a superpower, because not everybody can do that. Number 3, making out. Do you love it? Are you good at it? Are you a great kisser or really good at that like clothes on, sensuous body pretzel thing? Do you know right where to put your thigh? You know, are you a making out boss? If you are a making out boss, many of us do not spend enough time making out, and you may or may not spend very much time doing it. But if you are good at it, please honor it because it is an amazing skill. All right, number 4, knowing what types of touch you like. So not just where, which was number 1, but are you able to identify the types of touch you really enjoy? So for example, nails versus fingertips, right? Like, do you like scratchy sensations? Do you like tickly sensations? Do you like grabbing versus like a feather light barely touching your skin? Do you like random movements on your skin or more repetitive movements on your skin? Have you taken the time to figure this out? And if you have, congratulations, that is awesome. A lot of people haven't. I have a whole like mini class on my website about that helps people figure this out. It does some other things too, but that's like kind of the focus. And it's because so many of us don't actually know and we've never taken the time to explore. So if you have, way to go. Number 5 is flirting. Are you good at flirting? Like the deep gaze, the flirty touch, suggestive smiles, sexy texts. So full disclosure, oh my God, I am so bad at sexy texts. You would not believe how bad I am at it. If you are good at it, I give you all the props in the world. And if you are horrible at anything on this list, as horrible as I am at sexy text, just know you do not have to have all the powers, right? Again, not all the superheroes have all the superpowers. And I'm not even trying to change my shitty, sexy texting skills. Like, right now, I'm just kind of leaving that be. It's okay. You don't have to work on everything either, right? If you are good at that, I am like clapping for you so hard. Or any other kind of flirting. Flirting is amazing. Good for you. All right, number 6. Getting off. Have you figured out how to orgasm? That is amazing. Not everyone has figured this out. And I believe everybody can figure this out, and that it's completely okay if you haven't yet. And if you have, please celebrate it. Celebrate the hell out of it. If you are reliably getting off, either with yourself or with your partners or both, you have a superpower. And I mean, it feels like a superpower, right? So look, you may want to build on that and find new ways to do it or extend it or whatever, which is usually totally possible. But the fact that you can is awesome. So celebrate every time. 7, are you an imagination boss? Are you good at fantasizing in your head, at playing scenes, at creating stories that feel sexy to you, at all the sexy imaginings? This is amazing, and it is a superpower to cultivate. And you are absolutely welcome and permitted to do it during sex with a partner. In fact, many of us need sexy imaginings to connect to our body and pleasure most fully, or to orgasm. Your imaginings are not harming anyone. They are enhancing your pleasure. And it's amazing how many people, including me, back in the day, I used to have shame about this, but a lot of people have shame about this. And if you need help releasing shame about that, that's okay. That's also normal. But just know it is a superpower to build on, and it doesn't have to be disconnecting. There's nothing wrong with it. Enjoy your fantasies. Number 8, kind of the reverse of the last one, in a way, but you can do them simultaneously. Number 8 is being in your body. Are you great at not thinking? Are you great at being fully present in your physical experience and feeling your sensations, the sensations of your emotions, the sensations of connection, whatever it is that you're feeling? Are you good at being in the moment, in your body? That is amazing. That is a superpower, and not everybody has it. I believe fully 100% that everybody can develop it more and develop it to a fairly high degree, because we all have been given these bodies, right? But as a person who is formerly really dissociated from hers, I know that it can be something that takes a lot of learning for some of us. Okay, number 9, owning your no and yes. Are you good at only doing what your body really wants and not trying to people please, especially with sex? That is awesome, and it is a powerful skill most of us have to learn from the ground up. So if you're good at owning your no and your yes, I want to give you some extra props and kudos and encourage you to celebrate that. Number 10 is role playing. Are you good at putting on an archetype? Can you sort of step into a character that helps you expand your sense of self in a delicious way? Can you do that in collaboration with others? Is that something that feels pretty easy for you? That is a superpower. Number 11 is giving. Do you absolutely love giving pleasure? Does that feel just wonderful to you to touch someone else, to feel someone else or see someone else enjoying your touch? Vice versa, number 12 is receiving. Are you really good at enjoying and leaning into attention? Are you good at taking it in and reveling in it? And sometimes when you are, you don't realize that this is actually not universal. Not everyone has developed their capacity yet in the skill to really allow themselves to lean into receiving. And I work with a lot of people all the time to develop that. If you're already there, that is awesome. Number 13 is circulating your erotic energy. Are you great at feeling your erotic energy from the inside of your body? Feeling it, letting it fill you up, not spilling it over onto others, and letting it just be for you. So this is like when you are great at feeling super sexy, connected to your genitals, connected to your body, and like lit up from the inside. If you're good at this already, that is amazing. Most of us need to learn it, and we can, but some people are like prodigies with erotic energy, which is just, they just kind of know, and it's wow. Number 14 is consent. Are you a boss at asking before touching, at checking in before escalating, at keeping it all sexy while you do that? That is amazing. Most of us have to learn how to do that, and I teach it so often. But there are some folks who have either figured it out already by making a detailed study, and I have met them and I'm super impressed with them, or they've already sought out learning in some way, shape, or form and practiced until they got good at it. And I admire that so much. It makes partners feel so safe and helps others access their own eroticism because of that safety. So if you're good at consent, you rock consent, that is a superpower. All right, we're wrapping down to the last two that I can think of anyway. You might have more. 15, taking your time. Are you patient? Are you a slow burn? You know, people who are able to slow down, it is an unsung superpower, but it is an amazing one. And I'll say it's only unsung in like the media and porn. I think with your lovers, it can be so delicious. I think for women, sometimes we feel like we're taking too long, and I want to challenge that assumption. If you take a nice long build up to pleasure, who cares what patriarchy and porn culture say? So many of us have internalized all that shit to think that we're supposed to be in some sort of rush to be done. And I think the productivity culture also plays into that, saying, you know, it gives us this message that taking time for pleasure is somehow selfish, as if we need to be, you know, I don't know, making widgets for the man instead of enjoying this body we've been given. So let it be good that slow is delicious. Extending our pleasure time is a wonderful skill. And if it's the natural space you inhabit, that's great. You are allowed all the time in the world to build, savor, enjoy. And there is absolutely no rush, right? The universe has not sent us a, certified letter saying you need to be done with your sexual encounters in 12.3 minutes. So for fuck's sake, don't project rush onto your lover either, because a lot of us do that. We assume that they want us to be done instead of saying, wow, I take time, and are you good with that? Do you love being patient? Because this is going to be fun. Right? Patient is hot. So if you are slow, good job. Celebrate it. All right, number 16, and our last one, beginner's mind. Are you good at learning and trying new things? That is essential and sexual superpower. I think it's also a superpower for everything else in life, but just letting yourself be a beginner and open to new experiences, willing to try, willing to not be perfect at everything, right? Willing to kind of laugh at your own journey towards mastery, right? That is a superpower. And, there are probably more that I haven't thought of. Send me yours if I missed it. But what I want you to do with this list, so your exercise for today, is to write down at least 10 things you are good at in any of these categories. Really push yourself to think of at least 10, because the harder they are to think of, the more you have to dig, the more you have to really sort of, okay, what could I possibly be good at here? That means you've probably not acknowledged those ones that are hard to reach. You've probably not acknowledged them as strengths, and you've probably taken them for granted. So I really want you to dig, and feel free to get granular. So if you know, for example, more than one erogenous zone, write them down separately, because each one is a win. So now take your list of 10 or more. You're free to do more. Just don't do less. Don't do fewer. So now go back over your list and really allow yourself to appreciate each one. And I encourage you to write down some notes about how that particular strength has been lovely for you in the past, or how you might build on it in the future. And really think, even in this moment, how could you use that superpower for more pleasure right now? I want to invite you to let yourself savor them, celebrate them, and feel proud of them. Now look, if proud is an uncomfortable feeling for you, you might discover that through this. It was for me once upon a time. That's okay. See if you can let yourself just trickle in a little bit of pride. And then come back to the list regularly to remind yourself of your capacity and your strengths. If you need some help, if you are really unsure of yours and you want to find more, or you just want to build some of these powers up, you can go look at that free touch play guide I mentioned on my website. It will walk you through some exercises, either solo or with a partner, and you can use them to identify strengths and build on skills. It's right on my homepage at laurajurgens.com. So I hope this helped you today to remember to avoid being deficit focused in your goals, and instead allow visions, right? Visions for yourself from a place of capacity, right? When we envision for ourselves from a place of capacity instead of inadequacy, we feel capable, and staying focused that way will always enable us to grow with more motivation, more resourced feelings, and more pleasure and joy. So I hope this has been fun for you, and I look forward to being here with you next week. If this podcast was helpful for you, please consider going to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and leaving a 5-star review. Not only do I really appreciate your time doing that, but 5-star reviews really boost the show visibility, which helps people just like you who need it be able to find it. Thank you so much. I'll see you here next week.